chapter for you. It's like almost 4 a.m. for me, so if I'm yawning quite a bit, that is why. Chapter 9. The Writing on the Wall. What's going on here? What's going on? Attracted no doubt by Malfoy's shout, Argus Filch came shouldering his way through the crowd. Then he saw Mrs. Norris and fell back, clutching his face in horror. My cat! My cat! What happened to Mrs. Norris? He shrieked. And his popping eyes fell on Harry. You've murdered my cat! I'll kill you! Argus! Dumbledore had arrived on the scene, followed by a number of other teachers. In seconds, he had swept past Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and detached Mrs. Norris from the torch bracket. Come with me, Argus, he said to Filch. You too, Mr. Potter, Mr. Weasley, Miss Granger. Lockhart stepped forward eagerly. My office is nearest, Headmaster. Just upstairs. Please, feel free. Thank you, Gilderoy, said Dumbledore. The silent crowd parted to let them pass. Lockhart, looking excited and important, hurried after Dumbledore. So did Professors McGonagall and Snape. As they entered Lockhart's darkened office, there was a flurry of movement across the walls. Harry saw several of Lockharts in the pictures, dodging out of sight, their hair in rollers. The real Lockhart lit the candles on his desk and stood back. Dumbledore laid Mrs. Norris on the polished surface and began to examine her. Harry, Ron, and Hermione exchanged tense looks and sank into chairs of the pool of candlelight, watching. The tip of Dumbledore's long, crooked nose was barely an inch from Mrs. Norris's fur. He was looking at her closely through his half-moon spectacles, his long fingers gently prodding and poking. Professor McGonagall was bent almost as close, her eyes narrowed. Snape loomed behind them, half in shadow, wearing a most peculiar expression. It was as though he was trying hard not to smile. And Lockhart was hovering around all of them, making suggestions. It was definitely a cuss that killed her. Hey, shout out to the two in here. Shout out to the two likes too. Probably the transmortification torture. I've seen it used many times. So lucky I wasn't there. But no, the very Celtic course that would have spared her. Lockhart's comments were punctuated by Filch's dry, racking sobs. He was slumped in a chair by the desk, unable to look at Mrs. Norris, his face in his hands. Much as he detested Filch, he couldn't help feeling a bit sorry for him, though not nearly as sorry as he felt for himself. If Dumbledore believed Filch, he would be expelled for sure. Dumbledore was now muttering strange words under his breath, and tapping Mrs. Norris with his wand, but nothing happened. She continued to look as if she'd been recently stuffed. I remember something very similar happening in Ouagadougou, not sure how to pronounce it. Ouagadougou. So like a series of attacks. The full stories of an autobiography was able to provide the townsfolk with the various amulets, which cleared the matter up at once. The photographs of Lockhart on the walls were all nodding in agreement as he talked. One of them had forgotten to remove his hairnet. At last, Dumbledore straightened up. She's not dead, Argus. I really wish I could get Dumbledore's voice out, but nobody can do Dumbledore's voice. She's not dead, Argus, he said softly. Lockhart stopped abruptly in the middle of counting the number of murders he had prevented. Not dead? Choked Filch. looking through his fingers at Mrs. Norris. But why is she all stiff and frozen? She has been petrified, said Dumbledore. Ah, that's all, said Lockhart. But how I cannot say. As Kim? Shrieked Filch, turning his blush and tear-stained face to Harry. No second year could have done this, said Dumbledore firmly. It would take dark magic of the most advanced. He did it! He did it! Filch spat, his pouchy face purpling. You saw what he wrote on the wall? He found it in my office. He knows I'm a... Filch's face worked horribly. He knows I'm a squib, he finished. I never touched Mrs. Norris, Harry said loudly, uncomfortably aware of everyone looking at him, including all the Lockharts on the walls. Man, I don't even know what a squib is. Rubbish, snarled Filch. He saw my quick spell letter. If I might speak, master, said Snape from the shadows, and Harry's sense of foreboding increased. He was sure nothing Snape had to say was going to do him any good. Potter and his friends may have simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time, he said, a slight sneer curling his mouth like he doubted it. But we do have a set of suspicious circumstances here. Why was he in the upstairs corridor at all? Why wasn't he here at the Halloween feast? Harry, Ron, and Hermione all launched into an explanation about the Death Day party. There were hundreds of ghosts. We'll all tell you we were there. But why not join the feast afterward? Said Snape, his black eyes glittering in the candlelight. Why go up to that corridor? Ron and Hermione looked at Harry. Because, Harry said, his heart thumping very fast. Something told him it was far-fetched. Very far-fetched. If he told them he had been another by a bodiless voice, no one but he could hear. Because we're tired and we want to go to bed. Well, start on a supper, said Snape, a triumphant smile flickering across his young face. I don't think ghosts provided food fit for living people at the parties. We weren't hungry, said Ron loudly as his stomach gave a huge rumble. Snape's nasty smile widened. I suggest, Headmaster, well, Potter is not being entirely truthful, he said. It might be a good idea for you to be deprived of certain privileges until he is ready to tell us the whole story. I personally feel he should be taken off the Gryffindor Quidditch team until he is ready to be honest. Really, Severus, said Professor McGonagall sharply. I see no reason to stop the boy playing Quidditch. I'm sorry, I'm reading like slightly ahead, so I'm laughing at what she's saying. This cat wasn't hit over the head with a broomstick. There is no evidence at all that Potter has done anything wrong. Dumbledore was giving Harry a searching look. His twinkling light blue gaze made Harry feel as though he was being x-rayed. Innocent until proven guilty, Severus, he said firmly. Snape looked furious. So did Filch. My cat has been petrified, he shrieked, his eyes popping. I want to see some punishment. We will be able to cure her, Argus, said Dumbledore patiently. Professor Sprout has recently managed to cure some Daves-Raves. As soon as they have reached their full size, elevate potion made that will revive Mrs. Norris. I'll make it, Lockhart put it in. I must have done it about 100 times. Could whip up a mandrake restorative drop in my sleep. Excuse me, said Snape icily, but I believe I am the person's master at the school. There was a very awkward pause. You make a Dumbledore said to Harry, Ron, and Hermione. They went as quickly as they could without actually running. When they were floored up from Lockhart's office, they turned into an empty classroom, closed the door quietly behind them. Harry squinted at his friend's darkened faces. Do you think I should have told him about that wizard? No, said Ron with hesitation. Hearing voices no one else can hear isn't a good sign, even in the wizarding world. Something in Ron's voice made Harry ask. You do believe me, don't you? Of course I do, said Ron quickly. But you must admit, it's weird. I know it's weird, said Harry. The whole thing's weird. What was that thing, that writing on the wall about? The chamber is opened? What's that supposed to mean? You know, it rings sort of a bell, said Ron slowly. I think someone told me a story about a secret chamber at Hogwarts once. Might have been Bill. And what on earth's a squid? Said Harry. To his surprise, Ron stifled a snicker. Well, it's not funny, really. But that is Filch, he said. A squid is someone who was born into a wizarding family, but hasn't got any magic powers. Kind of the opposite of mother-born wizards. The squibs are quite unusual. Filch is trying to learn magic from a quick spell course. I reckon he must be a squib. Will explain a lot about why he hates students so much. Ron gave a satisfied smile. He's bitter. The clock chimed somewhere. Midnight, said Harry. We better get to bed before Snape comes on trying to frame us with something else. For a few days, the school talked little and nothing else but the attack on Mrs. Norris. Filch kept it fresh in everyone's minds by pacing the spot where she had been attacked, as though he thought the attacker might come back. Please, I'd love to see Filch go up against, spoiler, a basilisk. Filch kept it up, as though he thought the attacker might come back. Harry had seen him scrubbing the message on the wall, Mrs. Scour's all-purpose magical mist remover, but to no effect. The words still gleamed as brightly as ever on the stone. When Filch wasn't guarding the scene of the crime, he was skulking red-eyed through the corridors, lunging out at unsuspecting students and trying to put them into tension for things like breathing loudly and looking happy. Ginny Weasley seemed to be very disturbed by Mrs. Norris's fate. According to Ron, she was a great cat lover. But you haven't really got to know Mrs. Norris, Ron told her graciously. Honestly, we're much better off without her. Ginny's lip trembled. Stuff like this doesn't often happen at Hogwarts, Ron assured her. They'll catch the maniac who did it and have him out of here in no time. I just hope he's got time to pitch by Filch before he gets into it. I'm only joking. Ron added hastily as Ginny blanched. The attack had also an effect on Hermione. It's quite unusual for Hermione to spend a lot of time reading, but she was now doing almost nothing else. Nor could Harry and Ron get much else response from her when they asked her what she was up to. And not until the following Wednesday did they find out. So they had to wait like almost a week to find out what Hermione was researching. Crazy. Harry had been held back in potions, where Snape had made him stay to scrape tube worms off the desks. After a hurried lunch, he went upstairs to meet Ron in the library, and just saw Justin Finchley. Dang. The Hufflepuff boy from biology coming toward him. Harry had just opened his mouth to say hello when Justin caught sight of him, turned abruptly, and sped off in the opposite direction. Harry found Ron at the back of the library, measuring his history of magic homework. Professor Binns had asked for a 3-foot-long composition of the medieval assembly of European wizards. I don't believe it. Stood it and just short, said Ron furiously, letting go of his parchment, which sprang back into a roll. And Hermione's done 4 feet 7 inches, and her writing's tiny. Where is she? Said Harry, grabbing the tape measure and unrolling his own homework. Somewhere over there, said Ron, pointing along the shelves. Looking for another book? Think she's trying to read the whole library before Christmas? Harry told Ron about Justin Fletchley running away from him. Don't know why you care? Thought he was a bit of an idiot, said Ron, scribbling away, making his writing as large as possible. All that junk about Lockhart being so great. Hermione emerged from between the bookshelves. She looked irritable and at least seemed ready to talk to him. All the copies of Hogwarts history have been taken out, she said, sitting down next to Harry and Ron. And there's a 2-week waiting list. I wish I had left my copy at home, but I couldn't fit it in my trunk with all the Lockhart books. Why do you want it? Said Harry. The same reason everyone else wants it, said Hermione. To read up on the legend of the Chamber of Secrets. What's that? Said Harry quickly. I just said, I can't remember, said Hermione, biting her lip. I can't find the story anywhere else. Hermione, let me read your composition, said Ron desperately, checking his watch. No, I won't, said Hermione, suddenly severe. You've had 10 days to finish it. I only need another 2 inches. Come on. The bell rang. Ron and Hermione led the way to History of Magic, Pickering. History of Magic was the dullest subject on their schedule. Professor Binns, who taught it, was their only ghost teacher, and the most exciting thing that ever happened in his classes was him entering through the blackboard, ancient and shriveled. Many people said he hadn't noticed he was dead. He had simply got up to teach one day, and left his body behind him in an armchair from the stack on fire. His routine had not varied in the slightest since. Today was as boring as ever. Professor Binns opened his notes and began to read in a flat drone like an old vacuum cleaner, until nearly everyone in the class was in a deep stupor, occasionally coming too long enough to copy down a name or date, then falling asleep again. He had been speaking for half an hour, and something happened that had never happened before. Hermione put up her hand. Professor Binns, glancing up in the middle of a deadly dull lecture on the International Warlock Convention of 1289, looked amazed. Miss Granger, Professor, I was wondering if you could tell us anything about the Chamber of Secrets, said Hermione in a clear voice. Dean Thomas, who had been sitting here with his mouth hanging open, gazing out of the window, jerked out of his trance. Lavender Brown's head came up off her arms, and Neville Longbottom's elbow slipped off his desk. Professor Binns blinked. My subject is history of magic, he said in his dry, wheezy voice. I deal with facts, Miss Granger, not myths to any legends. He cleared his throat with a small noise like chalk snapping. He continued. In September of that year, a subcommittee of Sardinian sorcerers. He stuttered to a halt, Hermione's hand was waving at her again. Miss Grant, please, sir, don't legends always have a basis in fact? Professor Binns was looking at her in such amazement. Harry was sure that no student had ever interrupted him before, alive or dead. Well, said Professor Binns slowly. Yes, one could argue that, I suppose. He peered at Hermione as though he had never seen the student properly before. However, the legend of which you speak is such a very sensational, even ludicrous tale. But the whole class is now hanging on Professor Binns' every word. He looked dimly at them all. Every face turned to his. Harry could tell he was completely thrown by such an unusual show of interest. Oh, very well, he said slowly. Let me see. The Chamber of Secrets. You all know, of course, that Hogwarts was founded over 1,000 years ago. The precise date is uncertain. By the 4 greatest witches and wizards of the age, the 4 schoolhouses are named after them. Godric Gryffindor, Hedwig Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. They built this castle together, far from prying Muggle eyes, for it was an age when magic was feared by common people, and witches and wizards suffered much persecution. He paused, gazed blearily around the room, and continued. For a few years, the founders worked in harmony together, seeking out youngsters who showed signs of magic and bringing them to the castle to be educated. But then disagreements sprang up between them. A rift began to grow between Slytherin and the others. Slytherin wished to be more selective about the students admitted to Hogwarts. Purebloods. He wanted purebloods only. He believed that magical learning should be kept within all magic families. He disliked taking students of Muggle parentage, believing them to be untrustworthy. After a while, there was a serious argument on the subject between Slytherin and Gryffindor, and Slytherin left the school. Professor Binns paused again, pursing his lips, looking like a wrinkled old tortoise. Reliable historical sources tell us this much, he said, but these honest facts have been obscured by the fanciful legend of the Chamber of Secrets. The story goes that Slytherin had built a hidden chamber in the castle, of which the other founders knew nothing. Slytherin, according to the legend, sealed the Chamber of Secrets so that none would be able to open it until his own true heir arrived after school. The heir alone would be able to unseal the Chamber of Secrets, unleash the horror within, and use it to purge the school of all who were unworthy to study magic. There was silence as he finished telling the story, but it wasn't the usual sleepy silence that filled Professor Binns' classes. There was unease in the air as everyone continued to watch him, hoping for more. Professor Binns looked faintly annoyed. The whole thing is utter nonsense, of course. Naturally, the school has been searched for evidence of such a chamber, many times by the most learned witches and wizards. It does not exist. A tale told to frighten the gullible. And Professor Benz's voice made me a little dry-throated. Hermione's hand was back in the air. Sir, what exactly do you mean by the horror within the chamber? That is believed to be some sort of monster, which the heir of Slytherin alone can control, said Professor Benz in his dry, greedy voice. The class exchanged nervous looks. I tell you, the thing does not exist, said Professor Benz, shuffling his notes. There is no chamber and no monster. But, sir, said Seamus Finnegan, as the chamber can only be opened by Slytherin's true heir, no one else would have been able to find it, would they? Nonsense, old flat Hurley, said Professor Binns in an aggravated tone. If a long succession of Hogwarts headmasters and headmistresses haven't found the thing. But, Professor, piped up Parvati Patil, you'll probably have to use dark magic to open it. Just because a wizard doesn't use dark magic doesn't mean he can't, Miss Pennyfeather, snapped Professor Binns. I repeat, if the likes of Dumbledore. But maybe you've got to be related to Slytherin, so Dumbledore couldn't, began Dean Thomas. But Professor Binns had had enough. That will do, he said sharply. It is a myth. It does not exist. There was not a shred of evidence that Slytherin ever built, so much as a secret broom cupboard. I regret telling you such a foolish story. We will return, if you please, to history, to solid, believable, verifiable fact. And within 5 minutes, the class had sunk back into its usual torpor. I always knew Slytherin, said Slytherin was a twisted old loony, Ron told Harry and Hermione as they fought their way through the teeming corridors at the end of the lesson to drop off their bags before dinner. Ooh, 420 check. 1 second. Cheers. I always used Slytherin was a pussy Luna. Ron told Harry and Hermione as they fought their way through the teeming corridors, dealing the lesson to drop off their bags before dinner. But I never knew he started all this pureblood stuff. I wouldn't be in his house if he paid me. Also, if the Slytherin had tried to put me in Slytherin, I'd have got returned straight back home. Hermione nodded fervently. But Harry didn't say anything. His stomach had just dropped unpleasantly. Harry had never told Ron and Hermione that the Sorting Hat had seriously considered putting him in Slytherin. He could remember, as though it were yesterday, a small voice that spoke in his ear when he placed the hat on his head a year before. You could be big, you know. It's all here in your head. And Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. No doubt about that. But Harry, who had already heard of Slytherin House's reputation for turning out dark wizards, had thought desperately, not Slytherin. And that the hat had said, "Oh well, if you're sure, it be Gryffindor." As they were shunted along in the throng, Colin Creevy went past. "Hiya, Harry." "Hello, Colin," said Harry automatically. Harry, a boy in my class has been saying that you're..." But Colin was so small he couldn't fight against the tide of people bearing him towards the great hall. They heard him squeak, "See you, Harry!" And he was gone. "What's up, boy in the class was saying about you?" Hermione wondered. "Them Slytherins there, I expect," said Harry, his stomach dropping another inch or so, as he suddenly remembered the way Justin Fletchley had run from him at lunchtime. "People here believe anything," said Ron in disgust. The crowd thinned, and they were able to climb the next staircase without difficulty. "Do you really think there is a Chamber of Secrets?" Ron asked Hermione. "I don't know," she said, frowning. "Dumbledore couldn't kill Mr. Norris. That makes me think that whatever attacked her might not be, well, human." As she spoke, they turned a corner and found themselves at the end of the very corridor where the attack had happened. They stopped and looked. The scene was just as it had been that night, except there was a stiff cat hanging from the torch bracket, and an empty chair stood against the wall bearing the message, "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened." "That's where Filch has been keeping guard," Ron muttered. They looked at each other. The corridor was deserted. "Can't hurt to have a poke around," said Harry, dropping his bag and getting to his hands and knees so that he could crawl along, searching for clues. "Scorch marks," he said. "Here and here." "Why would the basilisk leave scorch marks, though?" "Come on, look at this," said Hermione. "This is funny." Harry got up and crossed to the window next to the message on the wall. Hermione was pointing at the topmost pane, where around 20 spiders were scuttling, apparently fighting to get through a small crack. A long silvery thread was dangling like a rope, as though they had all climbed in it in a hurry to get outside. "Have you ever seen spiders act that way?" said Hermione wonderingly. "No," said Harry. "Have you, Ron?" "Ron?" He looked over at Ron. Ron was standing well back and seemed to be fighting an impulse to run. "What's up?" "I don't like spiders," said Ron tensely. "I never knew that," said Hermione, looking at Ron in surprise. "You've used spiders in Potion Wizard times." "I don't mind them dead," said Ron. He was carefully looking anywhere but at the window. "I just don't like the way they move." Hermione giggled. "It's not funny," said Ron fiercely. "If you must know, when I was 3, I turned my teddy bear into a great big filthy spider that broke his whole broomstick. You wouldn't like to meet us. You've been holding the bear and suddenly had too many legs and..." He broke off, shuddering. Hermione was obviously still trying not to laugh. Feeling they had better get off the subject, Harry said, "You remember all that water on the floor? Where did that come from?" "Someone's mopped it up." "It was about here," said Ron, recovering himself to walk a few paces past Filch's chair and pointing. "Level with this door." He reached for the brass doorknob, but suddenly threw his hand, as though he'd been burnt. "What's the matter?" said Harry. "Can't go in there. That's the girls' toilet," said Ron gruffly. "Oh, Ron, there won't be anyone in there," said Hermione, standing up and coming over. "Last morning rental space. Come on, let's have a look." And ignoring the large out-of-order sign, she opened the door. It was the gloomiest, most depressing bathroom Harry had ever set foot in. Under a large crack we spotted a mirror were a row of chipped sinks. The floor was damp and reflected the dull light given off by the stubs of a few candles, burning low in their holders. The wooden doors to the walls standing cells were flaking, and a scratch one of them was dangling off its hinges. Hermione put her fingers to her lips and set off toward the end of the stall. When she reached it, she said, "Hello, Myrtle. How are you?" Harry and Ron went to look. Moaning Myrtle was floating above the tank of toilet, taking a spot on her chin. "This is a girl's bathroom," she said, eyeing Ron and Harry suspiciously. "They're not girls." "No," Hermione agreed. "I just wanted to show them how nice it is in here." She winked vaguely at the dirty old mirror on the damp floor. "Ask her if she's seen anything," Harry mouthed at Hermione. "What are you whispering?" said Myrtle, staring at him. "Nothing. We want to ask." "I wish people would stop talking behind my back," said Myrtle in a voice choked with tears. "I do have feelings, you know, even if I am dead." "Myrtle, no one wants to upset you," said Hermione. "Harry, only no one wants to upset me. That's a good one," howled Myrtle. "My life was nothing but misery at this place. Now people have come along ruining my death." "We wanted to ask you if you've seen anything funny lately," said Hermione quickly, "because a cat was attacked by the side front door on Halloween." "Did you see anyone here that night?" said Harry. "I wasn't paying attention," said Myrtle dramatically. "Peeves upset me so much. I came in here and tried to kill myself. Then, of course, I remembered that I'm already dead," said Ron hopefully. Myrtle gave a tragic sob, rose up in the air, turned over, and dived headfirst into the toilet, splashing water all over them and vanishing from sight. Although from the direction of her muffled sobs, she had come to rest somewhere in the U-bend. Harry and Ron stood with their mouths open, but Hermione shrugged wearily and said, "Honestly, that was almost cheerful for Myrtle. Come on, let's go." Harry had barely closed the door on Myrtle's gurgling sobs when a loud voice made all three of them jump. "Ron!" Percy Weasley had stopped dead at the head of the stairs, prefect badge agleam, an expression of complete shock on his face. "That's a girl's bathroom," he gasped. "What are you?" "Just having a look around," Ron shrugged. "Clues, you know." Percy swallowed in a manner reminding Harry forcefully of Mrs. Weasley. "Get away from that," Percy said, striding toward them and starting to bustle them along, flapping his arms. "Don't you care what this looks like? Coming back here while everyone's at dinner?" "Why shouldn't we be here?" said Ron hotly, stopping shortly and glaring at Percy. "Listen, we'll never laid a finger on that cat." "That's what I told Ginny," said Percy fiercely. "But she still seems to think you're going to be expelled. I've never seen her so upset, crying her eyes out. You might think of her. All the first years are thoroughly overexcited by this business." "You don't care about Ginny," said Ron. His ears were now glowing and reddening. "You're just worried I'm going to mess up your chances of being head boy." 5 points from Gryffindor," said Percy tersely, fingering his prefect badge. "And I hope it teaches you a lesson." "No more detective work, or I'll write to Mom." And he strode off, the back of his neck as red as Ron's ears. Harry, Ron, and Hermione chose seats as far as possible from Percy and Cameron that night. Ron was in a very bad temper and kept blotting his charm somewhat. When he reached accidentally for his wand to remove his smudges, it ignited the parchment, fuming as much as almost his homework. Ron slammed the standard book of spells great teeth shut. To Harry's surprise, Hermione followed suit. "Who can it be then?" she said in a quiet voice, as though continuing a conversation they had just been having. "Who would want to frighten all the squibs and muggle-borns out of Hogwarts?" "Let's think," said Ron in mock puzzlement. "Who do we know who thinks muggle-borns are strong?" He looked at Hermione. Hermione looked back, unconvinced. "If you're talking about Malfoy, of course I am," said Ron. "You heard him. You'll be next, Mudblood. Come on. You've only got to look at his foul rat face to know it's him." "Malfoy? That hair of Slytherin," said Hermione skeptically. "Look at his family," said Harry, closing his books too. "The whole lot of them have been in Slytherin. He's always boasted about it. He could easily be Slytherin's descendants. His father's definitely evil enough." "They could have had the key to the Chamber of Secrets for centuries," said Ron. "Hunting it down, father to son." "Well," said Hermione cautiously, "I suppose it's possible." "But how do we prove it?" said Harry darkly. "There might be a way," said Hermione slowly, dropping her voice still further with a quick glance across the room at Percy. "Of course, it would be difficult and dangerous, very dangerous. We'd be breaking about 50 school rules, I suspect. If, in a month or so, you feel like explaining, you will let us know, won't you?" said Ron irritably. "All right," said Hermione coldly. "What we need to do is get inside the Slytherin common room and ask Malfoy a few questions without him realizing it's us." "That's impossible," Harry said as Ron laughed. "No, it's not," said Hermione. "All we'd need would be some Polyjuice potion." "What's that?" said Ron and Harry together. "Snape mentioned it in class a few weeks ago." "Do you think we've got nothing better to do on potions than listen to Snape?" muttered Ron. "It transforms you into someone else. Think about it. We could change into 3 of the Slytherins. No one would know it was us. Malfoy would probably tell us anything. He's probably boasting about it in the Slytherin common room right now. Only we could hear him." "This Polyjuice potion stuff sounds a bit dodgy to me," said Ron, frowning. "What if we're stuck with like 3 Slytherins forever?" "It wears off after a while," said Hermione, waving her hand impatiently. "But getting hold of the recipe will be very difficult. Snape said it was in a book called Musty Potenti Potions." "What up, MC? How's it going, bro?" "I hope you're having a good morning so far." "And it's bound to be in the restricted section of the library." "Much appreciated, bro. Much appreciated." "Hard to see why we want that book, really. If we weren't going to try and make one of the potions." "Think," said Hermione. "If we're going to make it, it sounds as though we're just here. We might stand a chance." "Well, come on. No teacher's going to fall for that," said Ron. "They'd have to be really thick." And that's the end of that chapter. Yeah, MC, I feel you, dog. But it might be my guy and go back to sleep too. I woke up around like 2:30 to take a shit. I haven't been able to sleep since, so. That's it for me, chat. I'm gonna make this video premiere later. This one is berry gelato, and this one is Hawaiian. Vape Anapod. We'll have some ice cream haze wax too. So I'm set on some concentrates. Yeah, we'll go to 2:30, man. Nice. Nice. See, I don't really like the rosin freaking vapes, though, man. Yes, sir, I did. Double vape, good sir. Oh yeah. Whew. Go shizzle. But I'm gonna go ahead and stream a little bit, my guy. You have a good rest of your morning or night, and or you have it whenever you need to. And I will see everybody in the AM. Oh, dude, I've hit 3 vapes at one time. That shit is intense. I'm gonna hit more than 3. Woohoo! What I call a hit of death. Peace, peace. I'm gonna have a good night, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Cheers, y'all. Yes, that's true.